Hello, Cinema Makeup School students and friends. I'm Mary Lou Mandel, and I'm excited to bring you another wonderful industry interview. Today, I've got makeup department head and makeup educator based in the Atlanta market, Rasheed. Thank you so much for joining us today, Carol.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is the furthest away interview we've done so far, the power of the
Really? Well, welcome to Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you were able to join us. So let's start with you just telling us a little bit about your beginnings as a makeup artist.
Well, my beginnings as a makeup artist, oh Lord, we're going way back now. I actually started my career with the Walt Disney World Company in Orlando, Florida. This was back in the late 80s. That's where I originally got my start. However, I actually did a little bit of makeup when I was 17, 18 years old at a department store. That's when I got a taste of doing makeup, and I loved it. And I decided to go and work for Disney in their entertainment department to further my career. So that's how I kind of got my start, is, going to work for Disney. They, at the time, were building MGM studios. I had no idea that I would end up, doing television doing makeup for TV and film. Just so happens that, during the time that I was working at Disney in the late 80s, they built the Disney MGM studios there. And so they took about 15 to 17 of us under their wings, or they took about 15 to 17 of us and trained us on how to do makeup and hair for the TV shows that they were then producing there. Like The View came there, Kathy Lee and Regis came there, and a lot of the times they wanted to use people that were local to help with the audience or to help with whatever additional people that they had. So it was a great opportunity to be in the right place at the right time. Who knew that I would end up having a full lifetime career as a makeup artist? I didn't even realize I didn't even realize it could be a real job, to be honest with you. It was just really following my heart, wanting to work in the entertainment industry. And I was like, oh, let me go to Disney. They have entertainers out there that perform, at Disney. Lo and behold, who knew they were going to build a studio? I didn't have any idea about that at the time.
I know some of your first IMDb credits are Nickelodeon projects.
Yes, I worked for Nickelodeon, as a matter of fact, but Nickelodeon actually came after Disney. I actually worked at Disney for a couple of years, maybe a year and a half to 2 years after I started getting the training. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And I wanted to go out. I decided to go out on my own. And so, of course, I went over to Nickelodeon. I went over to Universal Studios to work. And at the time, they were building Nickelodeon Studios. They were going to bring it from New York and headquarter it in Orlando. And I got an opportunity to interview for a job doing a show called Double Dare. At the time, it had the star on it, Mark Summers, which I had no idea who Mark Summers was at the time. But he would have a huge impact on my career because I did a pilot with him before I actually got the job at Nickelodeon. I did a pilot show for Nickelodeon working with Mark Summers, and Mark actually spoke up and wanted me to come work for Nickelodeon. He spoke to the powers that be, and lo and behold, I ended up getting hired on as the makeup and hair department head for Nickelodeon when they were in Orlando, Florida. So I got an opportunity to work on a lot of groundbreaking shows there. It was an incredible opportunity. I had really been in the industry for a couple of years at this point, and it really set me up for a great career. Thanks to Mark Summers. Love him dearly to this day.
And Double Dare is such a messy show. What did the makeup look like for that?
Well, you know what? A lot of the times we did the contestants that came on the show. I, of course, did Mark's makeup for the show, but we had contestants that came onto the show. When they got messy, we would help them go and get cleaned up. So it was really so much fun back then, working with having an audience out there and working with kids and their families. It was incredible. So the makeup was like light makeup back then at that time. It was something new. It was fun and exciting. So yeah, we would put a little bit of makeup on them. And once they got slimed, of course they had to go and get cleaned up.
Yes, totally. And what a lot of folks who are maybe students or friends of cinema makeup school, like they're fairly young, they may not realize that Orlando was a hotspot for production for a while.
Yeah, Orlando was really a hot, like in the 1989, 1990, 91, probably up until about 1994, Orlando was really popular. A lot of TV shows came there to shoot. A lot of the ABC programming or different shows like Ellen would come down and shoot at the studios. Back then it was Kathy Lee and Regis. They would come and shoot at the studios over at Universal. So it was really such a time where, you know, you're in that time and you don't realize that you're working in a situation that may not normally be that way. But it really opened up a lot of opportunities and a lot of doors for a lot of makeup artists that were at the time living there. And then it was supposed to be the new Hollywood. Of course, you know, that lasted for about maybe 6 years, and then everybody decided that they wanted to go back to California. so I had to come up with other creative ways in which to really keep myself busy. After you work as a freelancer, you know, in the industry, it's kind of hard to go back to a regular 9-to-5 job. And so I really got a taste of what it was like to work in the television and the film industry during those times. And it was a great time and a great opportunity that I had there.
Yeah, that's great. Like I actually started my career in Orlando because I was like, ooh, this is the new Hollywood. And I lived in Florida. Of course, by the time I got there, everything had already moved on, but it was a great training ground. Like I really loved my time in Orlando.
You know, you moved there to expand your career, and lo and behold, when you got there, the industry left. But you know, the great thing about it is that when stuff like that happens, it really makes you figure out what you're made of, to be honest with you, because then you have to come up with different ideas in terms of what you can do to promote yourself, what you can do to set yourself apart, what you can do in addition to what you have in terms of knowledge, how you can gain more knowledge to help yourself become better, right? And so I think that with me having worked in Orlando during that time, it really did help me to grow in terms of entrepreneurship. It helped me grow in terms of looking at makeup from a whole different perspective. I ended up, you know, after the business really, really died in Florida, the TV and film industry, I actually started looking for places like the Home Shopping Network. At the time, the Home Shopping Network was there. It was becoming very popular. You know, they had on-air people that, you know, were going there selling their products. And so I was just like, let me just check this place out and see what they have over there. You know, I ended up checking out the Home Shopping Network, and lo and behold, they had a whole hair and makeup department that I was not aware of. So, you know, when you are, you know, given an opportunity that, you know, seems like it's a great opportunity, and then all of a sudden that great opportunity disappears, you know, it's really imperative to look for other ways to promote what you do, right?
Yes, which is really great advice, especially right now. We have so many of our students that were like, great, I'm coming and I'm starting my career, and then COVID happens. So a lot of people feel like they're stalled right now. But you're going to give us some really great advice on creative ways that you can still keep going. So before we get into that, I want to talk about when you got creative and ended up in Atlanta. How did that happen?
Oh God, you know, it's so interesting. My trip here to Atlanta at the time, I was still in Florida working. A friend of mine, she was working for Tyler Perry at the time. She actually invited me to come up and work for weeks on a particular show that she was department heading at the time. Lo and behold, 3 weeks ended up being 3 years. I came work on one project with her and with the studios, with Tyler Perry Studios, and then I ended up getting on another show and then another show. And then I think after about spending 10 months here, I realized that, you know what, maybe this is going to end up being a full-time situation. But it took me another 2 years to recognize and realize, okay, Atlanta is probably the place where I need to be, because when I came here and did that one show, my phone just never stopped ringing. I started building relationships with other people. I just got other opportunities. And that's really how our industry works. It's really based on relationships that you build. Strong relationships are really important, to cultivate, nice relationships with people where people trust you. And that's really, honestly, that's how I ended up working here in Atlanta. I had no intentions of moving here. I came here to work for 3 weeks, ended up getting a job, and from that experience, I started building relationships with other people. A lot of the times when people see that you're passionate about what you're doing, you're ethical, you're professional, and you show up willing to give 110% every time, you're consistent with that. Whatever I was asked to do, I just did it, without complaining. People remember that. Those are the kind of people that people want to work with. Those are the kinds of people that people want on their teams. They want people that are consistent, professional, that shows up, ready to work. And that's really humble as well. You know what I'm saying? You're a little bit humble or a lot humble, and you want to do what you can do to help support whatever it is that you're doing. Somebody hires me, even to this day, with me working primarily now, I work primarily as a department head. However, I'll go and work in background. If I need to go and work in background and want to go work in background, I think it's great to be able to never let your britches get too big, as my mother would say. So you just have to stay humble, be willing to give to others and help others, and be there to serve, because ultimately being a makeup artist, people forget that this is a service industry job. We're serving other people. And it's really important to keep that in your heart and keep that in your mind, so when you learn to serve, your phone will never stop ringing. I had moments where it was tough. It was tough to make it as a freelance makeup artist. I ended up opening up a salon, during the time when I was living in Orlando and having a little bit more of a hard time trying to build a following as a freelance makeup artist. I went and opened up a salon and did that for a couple of years, and that did well. I mean, it kind of held me over until I was able to get, some other opportunities before me. So sometimes, you have to create a situation to make things better for yourself, and I think the more that you educate yourself, the more you create opportunities for yourself. A lot of the times, like, for example, I was taking, even as a makeup artist, I was also taking business classes, to learn how to manage my money. I was taking classes to learn how to, market to people. I just always am educating myself. Even to this day, I'm educating myself. I was listening to a podcast this morning about entrepreneurship. When you work as a professional makeup artist, as an independent makeup artist, as a freelance makeup artist, in essence, you're an entrepreneur. You're working for yourself. So it's so important to continue to educate yourself and build your relationships with people that are going to help you go up and people that you can help go up as well. It's a give and take situation. So it's important to have good people in your space that's willing to fight for you. Listen, this is how I met you guys, through Nickelodeon. I keyed a show for Nickelodeon here in Atlanta, some years ago, called Solace, and we have remained friends to this day. She's one of those people that really poured into me, and I'm sure I poured some things into her. And so that's really what it's about, is building relationships, strong relationships, so that you can try and help, usher in, people that are also coming behind you, or people that you're coming up with,
The idea of being a good person to work with makes all the difference in the world.
Like, who wants to work with a Scrooge kind of person? You want people that are happy, in their heart, and that really have a heart for people. I think that this industry, working as a television and film makeup artist, or working as a freelance makeup artist, you have to have a heart for people. You really do, because you really are in a personal space with people. You want to be able to make people feel good. A lot of the times people are down. It's part of my job as a makeup artist when I'm working with a talent or working with someone. I want them to feel good about who they are when they get out my chair. If they come in and they're in a bad mood, it's my job to try and help get them out of that. And so I guess that's why it's important for you to have a heart for people, working as a makeup artist, because it's such a personal type of industry. It's a personal professional. I mean, it's a personal profession, so it's important to always be clear about in your own heart about your feelings and about being willing to help and be supportive. So it's always important to continue to educate yourself. Get as much education as you can. Take a business class. Take a class about money. Take a class, even if, listen, I've taken classes about doing podcasts. Now, I don't really have any desire to do any podcasts, but at least it's information in terms of if I decided that is something that I wanted to do, then I could do that. The great thing about makeup artistry is that there's so many different opportunities that you can create for yourself, especially in the times that we're in right now. You can do your own media company. You can make your own makeup line, do your own lipstick line. There's so many opportunities out there, but you just have to put the work in. It doesn't happen overnight.
Speaking of being good people that work together, you were the makeup department head for a movie about the world's best girl group, TLC, their biopic, which I grew up with listening to TLC. So I was very excited to hear that you had done that movie. Looking at that, you guys recreated all of the music videos. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that project and the challenges that come up in recreating looks that have already been made.
The CrazySexyCool movie, which was a biopic about the group TLC, that was an incredible opportunity to take part in that. The fantastic thing is that two of the original members of the TLC group, they're still living. They were producers on that project. And let me tell you, it was great to have access to them in regards to doing a biopic about their lives. And when you're working in a situation like that, where you're telling a story that's already been out there, you're doing the likeness of people, you really do have to do your research and get it right. It's really important to do that. I'm so proud to say that myself and the hair designer that was on that show, Shanika Terry, was incredible. Her team was great. My team was great. And again, just to talk a little bit about that, when you're doing the likeness of somebody's image, you're recreating that. You have research information that's readily available to you, and it's important to do everything the way in which it was before.
Can you share a little bit about how you prepared and got organized?
Well, specifically, I'll talk a little bit about rest her soul, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, that was part of the group of TLC. She had passed on, of course, when we did this movie. So she had tattoos on her, on both her arms. She had, these very known tattoos. Well, I had to recreate those tattoos, but because we could not get clearances on the actual exact tattoos that she had, I had to hire someone that could redesign tattoos that were very similar to those tattoos. So you would have to look really, really close to see the difference in terms of what was different about the tattoos. And actually, this guy by the name of Quintero Llano, he's in California, designed some tattoos for me that I ended up using. I presented them to the director and to the producers, gave them a choice of like 3 different styles of the tattoos, but they all look very similar to the tattoos that she actually had. So that was part of my research of doing that. I went, to the internet, pulled off pictures of the tattoos. I researched in terms of when the tattoos were on her, like when she had them done. Like there were some scenes early on where she only had 1 tattoo. And then, that was part of my research as well, is that you have to kind of know a timeline in terms of when, people did, certain things with the group TLC. And it was about a 10-year span that we actually followed that group. And so in the early 90s, they had a certain look, and as they, because they were very young in the beginning, they were wearing the shorts and the short haircuts, and then as time progressed on, we followed that group and they grew into beautiful young women. And so we had to go from a very young age with the group up until they became, like mature young ladies. And so their makeup style changed, their hairstyles changed, their clothing changed, all that stuff you have to research as a makeup artist and have a timeline that you can have to follow in regards, because one day you may be shooting them from 1991 and then in the same day you may have to go up to 2001. So it's important to be able to do the research on that and know that and know the story like the back of your hand, in regards to, the group or whoever you're working on. It's just like when you read a script, when you start reading a script, you read that script one time, you kind of go through it, you kind of choose, pick out the characters, you want to know the socioeconomic of the people. All those things matter in terms of when you're working towards developing a character. With the TLC group and the TLC movie, CrazySexyCool, this was something that was already established. So I really did my research of just pulling images of what they look like so that we could recreate that same thing for the same time period. So in essence, sometimes that's a little bit easier and sometimes it's not, because like I said, the important thing is really getting it right. With that movie, we got it right. We got a lot of great press in regards to that movie. I was very proud of that movie. Like I said, I worked with another team member, the hair designer that was on that movie, Shanika Terry. She's an incredible stylist, designer, hair department head, that I've done numerous shows with. So it's really important too, to be able to work as part of a team.
I heard that a lot of the costumes are the original costumes that
yes,
the two remaining band members, they kept everything in storage. So you're using their actual costumes. So at least like wardrobe had that to work with, but you can't store makeup. You have to do it again.
That's true. Let me tell you that the young lady that played Lisa Left Eye Lopez, her name is Little Mama. She actually wore one of the costumes. And when I tell you, everybody on set that night, when she had to come out and perform, we were all like in tears. It was so moving, to be able to have her in that costume. She's on stage kind of mimicking and doing, as a rapper, they chose her to do that part. And it was incredible. She did an amazing job, along with the other two ladies as well. I think that it was just really an opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity. I really enjoyed that. It was, phenomenal. So yeah, as an actor, you know what I mean? As when you're working with actors too, when they have access to actually having, the clothing or having some part of the actual person that they're recreating, it really affects them as well.
It really does, because then you can fully get into it. They've got the research material, plus they've got the actual items to put on that has got to change everything. Like you put on a good lipstick, you just, your day changes. Like
absolutely. That's why I put my red on today for you.
Yes, thank you. I love a red lipstick. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing now in COVID. So everyone knows we are in the midst of a pandemic. Industries are having to adapt. What are you doing to adapt, and what suggestions do you have for our aspiring makeup artists at this time?
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic situation has really affected me. It's affected all of us, all of our lives, and I really I've started to think myself in regards to what I can do as a working makeup professional to help make my job easier, to, make sure that I try and put the actors at ease when I have an opportunity to go back to work with them. And I think that, some of the other things that I've learned from this COVID-19 pandemic is that it's important to have multiple income streams of income. Just showing up, to do makeup is not enough anymore. It's really important to strategize, creating platforms for yourself, or creating product, whether that's creating a lipstick brand or creating a lash brand or creating something that is that's going to make you money while you sleep. So those are some of the things that I really have been thinking about. One of the other things that I actually had started to do before the COVID-19 situation happened is doing educational classes for people. But one of the things that really pressed me to look at the fact that, okay, I could be educating people online. That is a thing that is going to become, it's going to become part of our future now. I think that it's really, the silver lining to all of this is that, if you are at home, like 80% of us are during this pandemic, it has been a great opportunity to educate myself. Every single day, I'm educating myself with something new. Every single day. The other thing too, as makeup artists working in the television and film industry, it's important for us to make sure that our talent, when they sit in our chairs, that they feel safe and that they feel comfortable and they know that you are, clean and that you're healthy. And I think now this is really going to be just something that's just part of the job. It's always been part of the job, but I think it's going to be amped up even more now. Some of the things that I've started to already do for myself is to buy brushes. I've bought tons of brushes, that I can use once I get done with them. I'll give them to the actor to take with them. I brought little brush kits. I think I have one right here. Like, I've started buying like little cases like this that I can use on one actor only. When the project is done, I'll give them this. Now, not everybody can go out and buy brushes and stuff like this. This is a situation where I think that as makeup artists, we're going to have to also look at the fact that this is going to be a cost factor for us that we're going to need to pass back on to production. And the great thing about it is that I think production is going to have no choice but to be supportive of the fact that, we need to do this for our actors. We need to do this for their safety and for their security as well. So, those are just some of the things that I've been doing, is buying products that I know that I can use just for that actor. I've started to buy a lot more disposable products, like disposable lip brushes as well, disposable mascara ones. It's going to be a lot more of disposable use so that the actor really understands that you're really taking the extra precaution. The other thing that I've also done is I've gone out and had masks made as well that says that you're safe. It's kind of like a subliminal thing, to the actor. When I'm working on them, I will be masked up, but I think that if they're sitting there in my chair and they see something that says you're safe, it's going to hopefully make them feel a little bit safer. So as a department head, it's my responsibility too to make sure that my team is safe. I want to be able to talk to the producers, to let the producers know that, listen, I'm taking a proactive approach as well to help them. So when they know that you're looking to help them as well, it builds more of a community. It builds stronger relationships. And it's nothing like, having people feel comfortable and confident in your ability. As a makeup artist, we have a lot to offer, so it's important for us to be able to make the producers feel comfortable and confident. It's important for us to make the actors feel, confident. If we're working with other team members, we want to look out for our team members. All that stuff matters. So some of the things that I'm doing is really being proactive. I'm going to, when they start, allowing us here in Atlanta to take the test, I'm going to go out and take my own COVID-19 test and, and get tested before it's time for me to go back to work. When I come back to work, when I do go back to work, I want to come to my producer and say, listen, these are the steps that I've taken, and then this is an opportunity for me to let them know what I've done. And in essence, for me to be able to ask them and say, listen, I need to, if I need to be compensated for these things that these extra precautions that I've taken to help, safeguard, the production as well. It's going to take all of us working together to be able to make people understand, for us to get back to normal. There's going to be a new normal, to be honest. So I think it's really important for makeup artists to be proactive. Make sure you have hand sanitizers. I've started buying hand sanitizers, by the case. I have my own hand sanitizers. I'm going to bring that with me. I'll have bags and stuff for the actors that are just their bag, which we have that now. But I think it's really important for actors to feel absolutely safe. And I think it's going to be helpful if they know that the person that's working on them really cares about themselves and cares about them as well, to ease their mind. So there's a lot that we can do as makeup artists to help, to help with this pandemic. There's a lot of things that we can do to help people feel confident and, that we are taking precautions to take care of them and to take care of ourselves.
As far as production restarting in Atlanta, have you started to hear anything yet?
Well, productions here in Atlanta, it's so interesting because prior to this pandemic happening, I was working on a movie and we shut down, and it was my understanding from the producers that we would be going back to work next week. Well, here it is, the middle of May. I don't think we're going back to work next week. I know that I'm not going back. So I want to be confident and comfortable, even though our governor here in Atlanta has opened up, the restaurants and stores. I think there are a lot of people that are very apprehensive about it because right now people are still dying from COVID-19. So I think that in regards to us going back to work, I don't see, I'm thinking in my mind and based on information and research that I've done, it's probably going to be, we'll probably be off through the summer, maybe sometime, later, towards the, July, August, September. That's what, everybody in LA, all the studios are doing. Now, the great thing about Atlanta is the fact that we have a lot of studios here. And I know that a lot of the studios have already started putting in hand washing stations, and they're really taking the precautions that they need to take in order for us to be able to feel safe to even come back to work. It's a lot of information, and I know that the studios are probably going to financially take a big hit. When they take a big hit like that, where do you think they're going to want to cut their money? It's usually makeup and hair and wardrobe is where they want to cut money from, so again, like I said earlier, I think it's important, as a professional and as professionals, to really, to start doing our own homework and really preparing ourselves to help out our productions that we're going to be working on. But Atlanta is really, we have this incentive here. They've built, we have infrastructure here with all the studios, at my understanding, so I think that we have a long way to go, to be honest. So this is a perfect time to be looking at other opportunities, makeup artistry wise, that we can do as makeup artists. So many different avenues. TV and film is just one avenue.
Beyond doing TV and film makeup, what are some things that you can be doing to promote yourself?
There's so much stuff that we can be doing to promote ourselves as makeup artists. Your knowledge that you have, you may think that it's not a lot of knowledge, but let me tell you, you know more than maybe this person over there knows. And so, it's always great to get that information down on paper, blog about your information, blog about things that you've gone through yourself. People will buy those things. It's important to continue to educate yourself in so many different regards. Like I was saying earlier, on Instagram, there's opportunities for you to do a class on Instagram. Particularly with the younger generation, they really understand, technology and how to work technology and all that stuff. Use those things to your advantage. If you have a lot of followers, put out a t-shirt line, do something that, you have your tribe, where you have your tribe. If you have a tribe of people, then come up with content, come up with information, come up with things that they would be willing to purchase from you. So for me, I really have been trying to understand and learn how to do more have a more online presence, because I realize that it's important for me to give this knowledge and share this knowledge with people around the world, not to keep it just for myself. So I have a lot of knowledge, I have a lot of years experience, and it's important to share. Let me help the next wave of people coming into the television and film industry. And I can do that, through podcasting, or I could do that through writing a blog. I could do that through, doing videos. There's so many different ways in which we can really promote ourselves. We're not just makeup artists, you know what I mean? We're people as well, that have we have a broad range of information. So it's important, to start trying to build your tribe of people.
No matter what level you are currently at, there's somebody who could learn something from you. So whether you're the top of the game or you're still getting started yourself, just the fact that you share your story that you're just getting started and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm learning along the way, is going to help somebody else. So to serve as a makeup artist doing the makeup and to share your career path. So let's wrap it up with any advice that you might have or nuggets of wisdom, words of encouragement for our students.
Some words of encouragement is to always just keep a positive attitude. Attitude is everything. The thing that you cannot do, people come in, they either have a good attitude or they don't. Technical things in terms of how to do makeup, how to do a great liner, or how to put on that different lash, that stuff can be taught. You can't really, people either have ethics or they don't. People, having a great attitude will take you so far. Just having a great attitude, always being willing to give and help somebody else is really critical. I think that's important. I think it's important for us to be supportive of each other and not to ever worry about competition. Compete with yourself. I compete with Carol. I don't try to compete with anybody else. I compete with myself. What else can I do today to make me better tomorrow? So I think that's really important, having a good attitude, be the person that people like to be around. Let me tell you, that will take you far. Be the person that other people like to be around. They want to be in your company. They want to be inspired by you. So when you have the right attitude, that stuff just flows out of you. It's natural. So always come with a great attitude. Technical things can be taught. Having a great attitude, being professional, being ethical, being a person of your word, all those things matter. And continue to educate yourself and love life.
Well, thank you, Carol. If you guys haven't yet, or you want to know more about Carol's career, you can follow her on Instagram at Carol_Rasheed. And you can also head to her website, carolrasheed.com, to find out more about what she's done in her career. And she's so delightful. So please do make sure you follow her and interact with her on social media as we continue to grow her tribe. Thank you so much, Carol. I really appreciate you.
And I enjoyed talking to you.
I hope that we get to see more of you at Cinema Makeup School, and I will see the rest of you guys in our next industry interview. See you guys next time.
Bye.